Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's so good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us live. And when you're live, this means you get to comment live, which is lovely because we want to talk about today conversations. We want to talk about how to talk, how to listen. And I got to admit, this is one area where I really feel we do need to have some conversation about. Thanks for joining us on Rich Girl Live today. I am Suzanne Brothers Varley. I am hosting this, but so are you because you get to comment. So I asked earlier, what are some things that you need to stop doing in your conversations? And what are some of the things that you need to start doing? So please feel free to comment in the comment section. Love that when you do. Love to see who comes on first. Your comments just, they actually really spur me on. So conversations, how to talk, how to listen. Listen, this is kind of a lost skill, isn't it? I think so. It is. This is a time of year when many of us would normally be talking to a lot of friends and family, or at least a lot more than we normally do. And this is also a time of year when there are certain people that we're maybe not so looking forward to having a conversation with. We may now, even like right now, be thinking, how do we avoid that person or persons? And how do we avoid a conversation? How do we avoid those people? We may be even tempted to think ahead of how to be doing something else so that we can just kind of keep the peace, keep our distance. Okay, really? All right. Let's be real for a minute. Just kind of like show of hands. Are there some people that you kind of have unfriended on social media because they said something offensive about people, politics, climate change, or food? Or did you just not, or you just don't want to talk to them anymore, right? Okay, give me a comment. I'm pretty sure 100% of us on this Rich Girl series are 100% normal, 100% human. We're just human beings having, an earthly experience. Because we are doing less and less in person right now as human beings, it's even harder to have a meaningful conversation. Do you guys agree? Yeah. So video conversations like we're having right now, they've got to be more on purpose. And they really need to push our skills a little bit. And we're going to learn some of that today. Yay! Okay, we're going to learn some of that today. And we're going to ask ourselves a question that really creates a better us. And that question is, what do we need to stop doing? Okay, and then what do we need to start doing? It's so true that when we're making progress and becoming a better us, oh my gosh, you guys, isn't it so gratifying? It is. It's so gratifying. So let's go there today. Okay, let's see who's on. Hi, Becky. Great to see you too. Hi, Teresa. Okay. Thank you, Becky. All right, you started a comment here. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a lot of comments today. I could just feel it. Okay, if we're going to use some of the conversation today, I want to give credit to Celeste Headley, who is a professional interviewer. I've taken some of my thoughts from her. Totally agree with her. So if you were to be asked to be in a polite conversation, and we were to follow the advice of Henry Higgins from My Fair Lady, he would say just stick to health and the weather. Okay, but these days, those two are one of the most highly controversial subjects and topics. We're finding that, oh my gosh, is there anything safe to talk about? Okay, the world in which we live in is ever more controversial and has potential for us to move into arguments so quickly. Even the most trivial of issues, we find people fighting for and against, and they fight with vigor over trivial stuff. Studies show that we are the most polarized that we have ever been, and we're far more likely to compromise when we are not listening. Yeah, we're not listening. We're far less likely to compromise because we're not listening. So we make decisions on who our friends are going to be, who we're going to like, where we're going to live, what we're going to purchase, who we're going to be married to, based upon what we already believe. Again, we're not listening to each other. So some of those areas where we've already made those decisions, we've become not so open. But you know what? That's where conversation steps in. Conversation requires a balance of, you guys know, talking and listening. And somewhere along the line, we have lost that balance. And part of it, and a big part of it, I know you guys, I know it's technology. Yeah, it's this smartphone, right? This smartphone that we can grab it close to our hands. I mean, it's ever readily. It's just right there all the time. But according to some very key research, in fact, key research, the average teenager out there sends how many texts per day? Okay, take a guess at this. How many texts? I'll wait, I'll pause. Over 100 texts a day, average teenager. And many of them are much more likely to text their friends than to really ever even talk to them. And professor after professor, studies have shown us also that our youth, that is the single most important skill that they fail out is really about conversations. Kids are not using interpersonal relationship skills. They're not using it. And the question really begs us and asks us, is there any skill really that's more important to be able to create and to be able to maintain cohort and meaningful conversations? Okay, we delve into that. Yeah, we ask ourselves that. You guys know all this. You've seen it. All right. I want to tell you that I have made my living talking to people. That's what I've really done my whole life. Talking to people, all ages, all groups, all sex, all multicultural, all situations in life. I've talked to people that I've liked, and I've talked to people that I maybe didn't like so much. I've talked to people that I had deeply disagreements with on many levels, but yet we could still have a conversation. Yes, we can still have a conversation. So how do we talk and how do we listen? Let's see what you guys are talking to me about. Okay, I'm going to come over here and roll up. Hi, Jody. Yeah, so important. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Katya. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful yourself. For sure. Okay. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to step back. And I'm going to make a personal declaration here. I have not used all of these. I've forgotten them. I've overlooked them. I pushed them back. Mostly, I've just fallen back into old habits of conversation. But you know why? Because we're human. We're imperfect. Now, you most likely have been taught certain things about how to have a great conversation. Okay, here's some of them, right? Okay, let's just see if it hits it. Raising your hand on this one. Have you learned to be able to have good eye contact? Okay. Have you learned that you move your head up and down a little bit while that person is talking so that they know that you are engaged? Okay. So have you also learned to think of things to talk about in advance? Okay. Have you learned to smile? Okay. Okay. And have you also learned to repeat back to them things that they have said to further show that you're engaged in listening? Okay. So all of that, you guys, all of what I just said, I want you to forget it. Okay. Get it out of your head because some of it's garbage. It's just garbage. Okay. There is no reason to show that you are paying attention when in fact you're paying attention. Okay. This is where we're going to go now. We're going to go to something better. How to have a better conversation with not offending people, feeling engaged and connected. And there really are like about 10 crucial little short tips that you can do. So pluck one out of here or do them all, whatever you want to do. And for heaven's sakes, please comment. Thank you, Mary. It's good to have you on. All right. So number one on our list. Number one, are you ready for this? I love lists. Keeps me on track. Okay, number one, don't multitask. This means set whatever is in your hand down. Put your keys down. Put your cell phone down. Be present. Be in the moment. Do not be thinking about your grocery list or when you need to pick the kids up or did you turn off the curling iron. Okay, so being half in the conversation also means that you are half out. So if you don't want to be in that conversation, then I suggest to you that you get out of the conversation. Okay? You can think of why. All right. All right. Number two. All right. Just be ready. I want you to buckle up for this one. Do not state opinion. without wanting a response back or comments back or sometimes even pushback back. So if you really don't want someone else's opinion, then start a blog. Okay. If all you want to do is talk about your opinion, then be prepared. If all you want to do is talk about your opinion, then be prepared to be boring. You must enter every conversation assuming that you have something to learn. A true listener requires a setting aside of oneself, and it could be setting aside your personal opinion. See, those who are speaking will sense. They're going to sense that you are open, right? You sense it. You know when people are open, and they will open up more in response to that. They will feel it, and they'll more likely be opening their mind to you, the listener. Assume right here and right now that you have something to learn because you know everyone. I want to underline that everyone you meet knows something that you don't know. Okay. I'm seeing if you have comments. Have I stunned you? Number 3. We had number 3. Yeah, we're on number 3. Okay. This one is important because it's part of the skill. This one is about using open-ended questions. You guys know this. This is going to be a reminder. How do you ask open-ended questions? With a who, a what, a when, a where, a why, or even every occasion pull out a how, right? If you ask a complicated question, you're going to get a very simple and not very in-depth answer back. Okay, so let me give you an idea what I'm talking about. This isn't super complicated, but it's too complicated. Okay, were you really excited and elated about selling your home? And were you kind of scared too? Okay, the reply might sound like, yeah, I was pretty excited and scared. Okay, let the other person describe. And how are you going to help them describe? Ask the things like, what was it like? How did it feel? The other person, when you ask how, what, where questions, those kind of open-ended questions, they have to stop. They have to think about it. Okay. Now you're going to get a much more interesting response. And the person that you've asked the question to is also going to be so much more responsive and engaged. Okay. Now you could please comment about that. And I'd love to hear what you're going to stop doing. And I'd love to hear about what you're going to start doing. Okay. All right. Number 4, this is what we're ready for. Go with the flow. Yep, I said it. Go with the flow. Thoughts are going to come into your mind and they will go out of your mind. So let them come into your mind and let them go out of your mind. When you're listening to, if you're listening to your own thoughts, even what we are about to say next, what happens is we slightly disengage from the conversation. They say something like that their dog died last week. And immediately we go back to the time when our dog died. And then we start telling the story about our dog when it died. Or we remember something completely out of the blue about when we met Robert Redford skiing. See, what happens is we stop listening. Things will come into your mind. Let them come in and let them go out. Because remember, this is not about you. This is not about you. Okay, number 5. If you don't know something, say you don't know. See, err on the side of caution because talk, you guys, is cheap, right? It's cheap. How, anybody like a how or a person, anybody here like a know-it-all? No. So if you don't know, what are you going to do? You're going to say you don't know. All right. Now this one is really mine. And anybody on this podcast right now is going to go, oh my gosh, that's so Suzanne. Okay. Number 6, try not to repeat yourself. Okay. This happens so much. It happens in work. It happens with our kids. It happens with our spouses. It happens in every single thing. We have a point to make, so we just keep rephrasing it over and over and over again, right? Okay, yeah, we do. Okay. I'm going to say no more about that one. Okay. Thank you, Becky. Oh, thank you, Mary. All right. Number 7. This one is what a lot of people don't really realize, but you may know someone. Stay out of the weeds. So what do I mean by that? Suzanne, what do you mean by that? Well, here's what I mean by that. People really don't care about names, dates, places that you're struggling to remember. What they care about is you. and what you have in common. They care about what you have in common. So forget the details. Forget the names, the dates, the places. It just produces weeds. Leave it out. Just plain leave it all. It really does not matter at all. Believe me, it doesn't. And number 8 here is listen. The most important skill you can develop. If your mouth is opening, you're not really listening. Calvin Coolidge said, "No man ever listened his way out of a job." You see, we would rather talk. We'd rather be in control. We'd rather be the center of attention. We'd rather boost our own identity. But you guys, we talk. We can talk about 225 words per minute, and we get distracted. We can listen at 500 words per minute. So our minds are always trying to fill up the other 275 words per minute. It takes work. It takes energy. It takes us paying attention. So if you cannot do this, then you're going to find that there are two people taking and making sentences in the same place, but neither are really having a valuable conversation. You guys can do this, but you have to be aware, right? You have to be aware. Stephen Covey, very famous author, wrote many books on leadership. He said that most of us do not listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply. So true, right? All right. Number 9, be brief. This is funny, but it really is poignant. An old friend a long time ago said in a sentence to me that I always remembered. A male friend said to me, "A good conversation is like a miniskirt, short enough to retain interest, but long enough to cover the subject." Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, and number 10, we've come to number 10, and also we've come to the end of our fabulous 15 minutes together. Okay, so what this all boils down to in conversation, you guys, is being interested in other people. Go out in the world and listen to people. Listen to people, because you guys seriously are going to be amazed. Okay, I thank you guys for being on today. Thanks for making your comments. Thank you for those who jump on later. And for heaven's sake, please share all these podcasts with your friends, your family, the people that you do business with. You know, we could all learn a little more from having meaningful conversations, especially now in our world today. Again, I'm Suzanne Brothers Varley, and I host the Rich Girl series every single week on Monday, 12:30 Mountain Time. I look forward to being able to talk with you and especially reading your comments. Thanks for your support to this program. Thank you for being wonderful people that I so admire and love doing a little bit of life with every single Monday. Take care and God bless.